Welcome back to this week's TV episode 8. Unfortunately, we're back in our home offices. I know, shed a tear. But this week we did want to highlight a couple of the things that can set your organization apart and amongst the hottest candidate markets that we've ever seen. But as promised, we do want to continue with our segment of Did You Know? And this week, Trevor, what do you got for us?
So I actually have a mind-blowing one from the Harvard Business Review, and it states that research shows that since 2000, 52% of companies once in the Fortune 500 have either gone bankrupt, been acquired, or ceased to exist as a result of digital disruption. Huge percentage.
Yeah, that is pretty mind-blowing.
Massive. And it really seems as though, yes, 2 of those are avoidable, but it really just seems like people just couldn't keep up. They weren't pioneers. They were just behind the times.
We have seen definitely the displacement of old technologies, and I guess the organizations who might have competition that is in that rapid advancement stage definitely has the leg up. So
yeah,
wild statistic. If you have any thoughts on that, feel free to drop that in the comments. Moving right along, setting your organization apart. Trevor, lead us off. What do you got?
So first piece is the ability to streamline your interview process. Right now with the hottest candidate market, like Vince said, that we've seen, there's not enough time for a 5, 6, 7, 8-step interview process. Short of it being a C-suite executive, there's just not enough time. So utilize everything. If you're partnering with an agency, let those recruiters cut your initial phone screen. If you have a lot of one-on-ones, see if you can do, kind of tandem those up. Sometimes the group environment works best. If you have a competency test or something where they have to be one-on-ones, just be mindful of how long that process will take, knowing that candidate's likely getting intermittent offers from other competitors.
Absolutely. They're moving fast, especially within IT, creative digital. It's very rapid right now. So whatever you can do to make haste while still making sure that you're thorough enough in your evaluation is definitely key. So great point. One thing I'd like to highlight, and I think Trevor and I kind of exemplified that with last week's episode, is the ability to work within a hybrid model, or in some cases just the permanently work from home. But definitely having that option, I think, to come into an office, to add to that culture, to be around, your colleagues, it definitely brought a renewal of energy in terms, I think, of just a team. Yeah, of just seeing everybody in person and having those quick interactions rather than pinging them on Teams or Zoom calls, anything like that. Obviously, the remote from work option is something that I absolutely love. And something we touched on in our last Did You Know? But I think having that option is the biggest key.
Massive. And then, the third that I've got here is just making sure your company is overall mission driven. Making sure that that the candidate can tell the story, that you're telling. That goes hand in hand with A, having a great mission, but B, just being kind of a pioneer, so you don't end up like one of those companies we touched on in that did you know fact. You have to be spearheading, diversity and inclusion metrics. You have to make sure that you're involved in the community. You have to be doing just a culmination of things to stay in the forefront and stay relevant and ultimately desirable for candidates in the market right now.
Absolutely. And if your organization isn't, checking all those additional boxes, I think it definitely goes a long way. We've seen with candidates who can really get behind, what their organization stands for and obviously what they do. So, who a company is at its core values is extremely important. And those values have to be able to be communicated to those candidates and to the employees, which sets us up perfectly for where we're going to go next week for episode 9. We're going to talk about why communication is key for not only the candidates, but for the agencies that you might be working with, as well as those hiring managers, and how communication really brings everything together. So stay tuned. See you next week, episode 9 coming at you.